Well, good evening and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by the British Institute of Kitchen, Bedroom and Bathroom Installation. My name is Louis Mendes and we are absolutely delighted to be back for our first show of the 2023-24 campaign. Joining me on this week's big match preview as we gear up for a big season ahead for the Addicks. First up, top right, I bet you had a great summer. Nathan Miller. How you doing, Nath?
Yeah, living the dream. Been a great summer, mate. Been out and about from Marbella to Wealdstone, so been great, mate. But nice to see your little lovely faces again. Look at them. Missed you, boys.
Yeah, I know. That's the whole reason we went on YouTube, is just so we can see each other's faces more often. Yeah, and you were out in Spain watching the boys in their pre-season camp. Also joining us on the bottom of the screen is Tom Walling. How you doing, Tom? Good summer?
Yeah, all good. I've been as far as Welling, so I've put a big shift in as well. About as much of a shift as Miles did for that pre-season game. But yeah, buzzing to be back. Very excited.
Yeah, I mean, he had a bit of a better reason than you to not go to any of the other ones. Obviously, he got taken out by a Welling player when you didn't really, and you should have been really. But anyway, so on this week's show, we've got so much to talk about. Obviously, it's been a very big summer in SE7. There's been a takeover at the club. There's been all sorts of comings and goings in terms of players as well. We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to hear our exclusive interview with the new Charlton forward, Alfie May. I spoke to him yesterday ahead of the new campaign. And of course, we will look ahead to Saturday's opener at home, a London derby against Leyton Orient. We're going to hear from the Addicks boss, Dean Holden. We're also going to hear from Dave Victor, the legendary BBC Radio London Orient reporter. We want to hear from you guys as well. Welcome to everyone who's joining us live on the YouTube stream. Josh Wilcott said excited for this one. Bring on the new season. Charlton fan 18 can't wait for the season. Ross saying the football season starts right now, and that is praise indeed. Good to see loads of you in the chat saying hello. Make sure you get involved. Give us your views on how it's gone with the takeover so far. How are you feeling ahead of the season? What have you made of the transfer business we've done? Are there any areas you think we're short in still with a few weeks left to go of the transfer window? Where would you like to see us add to the squad between now and the end of August? And let us know what you think might happen this Saturday as well with the big home game against Leyton Orient, which we're all really looking forward to. Now, let's dive straight in then, shall we? Takeover talk. I mean, it seemed to dominate the second half of last season, Nathan. It's all gone through now. Charlie Mevans consortium, the Global Football Partners Group, are here. So, I mean, the investors, including the Gabriel Brenner and his family, Josh Friedman and his family, Warren Rosenfield, ACA Football Partners, Munir Javri, Mark Boyan, and Charlie Mevan. Obviously, we know a little bit about these guys because they were here in January, did a bit of the business back then. But now they're back. It's all signed, sealed, and delivered. Sandgaard's gone. Mevan and his lot are in. How do you feel about that?
No, has there been a takeover? Yeah, I'm actually. Yeah, no, I think it's yeah. No, listen, I think it was obviously it looked like it was. Didn't know if it was actually going to happen. There was people pulling out, and we had someone else in, and then it just took its time, and just glad it's done now. A little bit later than probably we would have wanted, but listen, it's done. You know, we've got the ball rolling in terms of recruitment, and we can start a new season or a new era with a new consortium. I think a lot of people, and rightly so, are going to be a little bit more cautious this time around. I don't think people are going to be being clapped around the stadium or anything, but the proof will be in the pudding with the new consortium. But what they've done so far in terms of backing Dean and players, you can't really grumble, really, which I'm sure we'll go on to transfers in a bit. But I've been all but positive. And it's just got a little bit of a new feel, a new positive vibe to the club this year, even with the club's media team, you know, seeing videos, doing roommate sort of conversations on YouTube. It's been really good. So it's all gearing up to a good positive start to the season. And hopefully it is one where we can actually get out of this League One once and for all.
Yeah, well, so I mean, it goes without saying, obviously, Tom, when this group were first sniffing around the turn of the year and had that little spell in where they brought Dean Holden to the club. Obviously, a lot of the discussion was about Charlie's time at Sunderland in particular, because he was the face of the group, and you know he's done a lot of the interviews so far. He still seems to be one of the main talking points. I assume at some point that will sort of be handed over to Jim Rodwell, because I mean Charlie keeps saying he's sort of going to be more of an investor in the background and like a link between the majority of the investors and the people running the football club. But obviously there will be understandable caution because they weren't popular at Sunderland, some of these people. So you can understand why, especially with what we've been through as a club, why there are some people who, whilst you're wanting to feel confident and probably looking at some of the signings so far and thinking, yeah, okay, on the right path, let's continue this. There will still be some trepidation and hoping it doesn't go pear-shaped.
Absolutely, and that second point you make is key. We've had our fair share of bad owners in the past, and so you factor in what you just said. Methan in particular in his time at Sunderland, and certain areas of the publicity around that obviously weren't so good. I'm sure he's got his side of it. And then, yeah, as you say, you can reel them off, can't you? The owners that we've had over previous years who've promised a lot and under-delivered. And I think, yeah, we are right to go into it being cautious. I know they're using this kind of, new season, new era or something as a kind of slogan that I've seen on a lot of the media stuff coming out of the club. And I think that's exactly what it has to be now. It has to be a new era. We have to try and draw a line under all these owners. I know there's obviously still things outstanding, like the training ground and the valley. And as I say, we haven't really seen what they're capable of yet, other than a few signings, which I think largely are okay and have been relatively positive. But yeah, I don't think we want to hear words anymore from these owners. I think we want to see results. And for them, unfortunately, there's nothing they can do about that until we get sort of 10, 11 games in and we start to see what this team looked like. So yeah, I think we were only at best sort of treading water under Sangard. We were probably going backwards again. So I think something had to happen. It's a roll of the dice, and hopefully it's a positive one. But as I say, I'm trying not to be too concerned with the sort of PR spin that they're putting on this and focusing on what happens on the pitch under Dean, which obviously we'll start to see a little bit more of on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was a question I was asking myself sort of earlier on this afternoon, Nath, is what do we as fans, with my fan hat on, what do we want from the new ownership? And I guess it's quite simple, really. Like, just get it right on the pitch. Don't do anything stupid. Like those two go hand in hand. I mean, I'll tell you what is nice to see, actually, and it probably shows where a lot of the fans are at the moment, is I'm just sort of flicking through the comments here, and pretty much every question that's asked of us at the moment is about football. How long is it since we've had people only asking us about football? I mean, if anyone wants to have their say on the new owners, let us know. But it's all about football pretty much. Grant Jeffries saying, great to have you back on air. Hopefully the new owners let us continue Jack's legacy at the Valley. Fingers crossed. Yeah, of course, the Jack Jeffries Foundation have been running that box in SE7. And yeah, it'd be great to see that continue because they've done such great work. But yeah, Nath, what do we want as owners? We want signings on the pitch, promotion, a club run successfully, and probably almost quietly in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like the point you just said about us talking about football, this mainly what the podcast is for, right? All of us fans discuss football. That's what it's for. So great that we're talking about that. Whereas it just seems, ever since I've been on this show, back to when Carol Fry was here, all we've been talking about is takeovers and owners and stuff. So looking forward to, hopefully, the owners stay silent partners, if they call them that. That what I would want as a fan is that they support Dean, which looks like what they're doing. They let people, football people, make football decisions, which I think they're doing by bringing in a board and a couple of non-exec ones as well, such as Paul Elliott. So, yeah, I think that's the main thing. And just let us focus on the pitch now and get behind the team and bring that connection back between, the fans, the staff and the players like we did. It seems like moons ago when Chris Powell was here. So never know, it might not end out the same way, but I think that's the first step in the right direction, is bringing that back and let everyone look forward to coming to Charlton again. I mean, there was times last year we were all like, well, we're safe, but we're not going to do anything. But you just go through the motions a bit. So a big refresh, big reset. So I think, I'm looking forward to it, mate. So I think that's all that we want, is just let us all focus on the football, and we can moan who can play left back or right back or centre half or whatever, and not talk about the people upstairs.
Yeah, Joe says stability, sensible investment, and a team that can challenge with proper management in place. That's what I want from them. Dan or Charlton Bill actually said at least they're getting proper people in to run the club rather than their own family. And yeah, well, there's no Martin Sangard, for example, at the club anymore, whatever his benefits or or the opposite of benefits was. Dan Bro said, I don't know about you lot, but I think Methven would be trying to recover his reputation, though. Hopefully he is, and he learns from the past. Yeah, I mean, again, it goes without saying that anyone who's seen or spoken to Sunderland fans, and maybe not just a documentary, because obviously we've all seen that, but Sunderland fans were living that in real time anyway, and they didn't come out particularly popular from that. So hopefully, yeah, these people who've been through there have learned their lessons. But like I say, I'm sure there'll be Charlton fans who will be keeping a keen eye on what happens. And yeah, like I say, we're all hoping for the best at this moment in time. Let's see what happens. Johan said, I think the new owners have done it perfect so far, but still cautious with them. I think we should get top 6 with this squad. A little bit unsure on Holden, though, especially with 3-5-2 with Taylor at wing back. James says, I want a happy Louis back. Yeah, see, I'm on the way already. I'm genuinely actually quite pleased the season's about to start, which at the end of last season, I don't think I would have been in that position. I wanted it to never come back. And Dan says, as you say, it'd be nice to talk about just what happens on the pitch rather than the ownership. Fingers crossed. So that's what we're going to do now. There's been quite a few signings in and out. We're going to hear from one of them later on in the show, Tom and Alfie May. We should probably touch on a couple of the ones that have left. Obviously, Jez has left. Someone's asked earlier, have we replaced him? You know, that's probably, obviously, we're going to play a slightly different formation by the looks of it this year. But in terms of number of goals, you'd assume that Alfie will pick up the slack that Jez will be taking back to Palace with him. But at the same time, we have to assume they're going to be playing different roles. So we don't know if we're going to have those creators like Jez was. But yeah, the ones that have left, Jez, obviously sad to see him go. I mean, your likes of Sean Clare's, your Ryan Innes's, your Albie Morgan's. Is there anyone who's left, Tom, that you wish would have stayed?
So obviously Jez, but no, aside from that, the only one, and Nate's laughing, the only one would have been Albie Morgan, and that's personal over his ability, I think, probably. I was encouraged by the back end of last season in terms of what he was offering. He was getting a lot more minutes under Dean. So I was perhaps surprised to see him go. And as I say, just personally, just didn't want him to go. But I don't think there's anybody really we could argue deserved to stay. And we probably said something similar at the end of last year. I don't think, look, towards the end of that year, we were such a one-man team, really. You could argue, obviously, Miles had a good season as well, and a couple of others, but it just felt like if Jez wasn't there, how much trouble would we have been in? And we can't afford to be like that this year. So I think we've had a clear out of some of the players that certainly we'd spoken about as not necessarily being issues off the pitch. I don't know enough about off the pitch, but just making basic errors on it and costing us goals. I think some of the players we've invested in this year are positive. Who knows what would have happened had Ben Garner stayed last year, but clearly his investment plan was to go for the top end of League Two and see if they could make the step up into League One. And obviously that will sort of change mid-season. This year we seem to have gone for sort of standard proven League One players. So there's a shift in the mentality of the signings overall, likes of Alfie May, for example, and some of the others as well that we'll go on to talk about. So yeah, I'm encouraged by the players we brought in. I can't say I'm particularly going to miss many players that we've got rid of. The big thing, as it has been for 3, 4, 5 seasons now, is how quickly can they gel? How quickly can they get into that style, as you say, that they're adapting to through pre-season? How quickly can they sort of bond? Because I think we saw the back end of last year that if you've got a team that are together, then there's a lot more chance of success. So yeah, that's something that obviously Dean's been working on, and he's going to have to continue to work on for the next few weeks. But like a lot of people are saying in the comments, I'm pretty confident about him doing that. And I think we've made some good transfers both in and out.
Yeah, Pete's saying, I was disappointed to see Sean Clare go. Even if he isn't an automatic starter, he was a huge asset to have on the bench. And he's obviously gone up to Wigan. Ludicrous saying, hopefully Fraser can be at his best this season. May's going to be a proper striker for him to play into as well. Yeah, so obviously we're talking about new signings, but there are players that we've had perhaps last season as well who have got that extra step in their locker, you think. And I think, Fraser got 9 goals last season and quite a few assists. When I was watching him last season, I felt like there was more to come. So hopefully on an average season, getting nine goals and however many assists shows that maybe there is that little bit extra that he can get. And if he can get that, then we know how good he was at at Milton Keynes, before he came to us. Obviously, didn't have the best time at Ipswich when he's being played out of position. Want to talk about some of the newbies that have come in then, Nath? Obviously, Alfie May, who we're going to hear from later on in the show, is going to be our big talking point. But Lloyd Jones from Cambridge, Harry Eisted, the goalkeeper, Pan Kamara on loan, Teo Eden, and Terry Taylor. Who's like the pick of the bunch for you? Who are you really excited to see in this upcoming campaign?
It's all going to be Peter Pan. I'm going to call him this season because I love that guy. I just think he's brilliant. I just think he gives us another dimension we haven't had. Well, I think we was talking on WhatsApp when he signed. The last player who could actually drive with the ball in the middle. I couldn't really remember. Was it Joe Ariba? I think we came up with. But I just think he's going to be. I just think he offers us something different. But not only that, and all the other signings you said, mate. I think our midfield now, we have legs. I don't think we're going to be pushovers in the midfield anymore. We can get around the pitch apart from, because I think at some points it was only really Dobbo who could move, really. Fraser's not really known for his energy and his pressing, and it looks as though that's the way Dean wants to go. And with players that we've got in that team, we've got enough dynamism in that middle of in the field now. So, I'm looking forward to Peter Pan starting for Charlton 11. But as you say, Eisted, who's going to be number one? I think it will be Ashley, but who knows? But it just looks like we're building a nice little squad now. I still think we're a good few players to go and still a few to come in, but positive so far, mate.
Yeah. I mean, that will be my next question in a few moments' time, is about how far off are we? Because, I mean, if the season were to start this weekend and the transfer window closed, I don't think I'd quite have us as promotion hopefuls yet, because we're not full. But that will be the same for a lot of other squads as well. You have to remember, like, I love reminiscing about 2011-12, when obviously we had pretty much everyone in the door before pre-season started, and obviously we absolutely walked the league with 101 points. But it feels to me that clubs do more and more business in August, and every manager would love to tell you that wouldn't be their preference, but it just feels like the way it is, especially when there's players who are sort of weighing up options, seeing if they can get a championship deal, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's certainly still a way to go. I mean, there's a couple of sort of untried people in there as well, which will be interesting. So obviously Lloyd Jones has played this level with Cambridge, lower down in the league of this level, but looked like one that Dean had his eye on. Harry Eisted will be really fascinating because he's only really played half a season of league football. The majority of his time with Luton was spent in non-league on loan. I think Wealdstone was one of his clubs, actually. That was a trip back for him a couple of weeks ago. Aiden's obviously had spells in this division before, but it's one we've been looking at Blackburn for a while. And Terry Taylor sounds like the best player I've never heard of, Tom, according to the reviews that we were getting from people who've seen a lot more of him. Like, literally, it's not a name that stands out, literally, but it sounds like he's certainly got a lot of promise as well. So a few players there that, if they live up to the potential that we hope they have, could be quite interesting acquisitions for us.
Yeah, he sounds like he's out of the 60s, doesn't he? Like he should have his shirt tucked in his shorts and his hair swept over. But yeah, I think I'm not going to claim to know a lot about those players either. But as I said earlier, I think they've at least played this level, even as you say, only a little bit. And I know, if we take Eisted as an example, I know everybody was raving about him, and I would sort of gamble that a lot of people were raving about him because of that playoff final performance, which was exceptional, made a few amazing saves, but that's just one game. So yeah, there are players that have a lot to prove, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And I think if you're playing under Dean Holden, it's probably quite a nice environment, and he probably motivates you a lot to go out and prove a point. So yeah, I think that's good. I've got a mate who's a Blackburn fan who said, Eden hadn't had a lot of game time this season, but he was one that would probably do okay at this level as well. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see these players come in. I think last year with the signings we made, I was a bit like, I'm interested to see how they do, and I wonder whether they can. Whereas this year, I'm excited. As I say, I've only seen Welling pre-season. I'm looking forward to getting down there Saturday and seeing some of those players for the first time proper. And I guess that speaks back to that 11-12 season you talk about, where I got there and I knew none of the names on the team sheet, and you're trying to figure it all out. And then we go and, win that game fairly comfortably. So, yeah, I think that. And then another point, I don't know if you were going to ask this question separately, but another point, and I never thought I'd find myself saying this, but the likes of Jack Payne and Charlie Kirk, have come in and played a lot of game time in pre-season and done quite well. Obviously, there are people like Campbell who was doing quite well towards the back end of last season. Players like DJ who had a huge reputation. Can they do something? People like Mitchell, Elawere, Anderson. So, there's a bunch of youngsters. There's a bunch of players we've had here now for a couple of years who really need to prove themselves again. So there's a real nice balance in the squad. As you say, I think we're probably still 3 or 4 short, but you could go through that list of players, and there's not too many concerns with them as individuals. There's concerns where there are gaps, but I think a lot of those names I'm excited to see him play. And as I say, even the ones that last year I was being critical of, I kind of feel like there's something new about them this year. And you don't want to read too much into pre-season, but they're getting minutes, they're scoring goals, they're looking good. Maybe it's competition for places, I don't know, but we'll have to see. But I just feel quite excited about the season now and looking forward to Saturday, which I wouldn't have said 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I've like I say, I haven't said that a great deal over the last couple of years, but this time around, I'm feeling a bit more comfortable. I mean, the name was mentioned there, but both Cap and Mark Wyndham have asked about Kirk. I mean, Mark saying I think we'll get a decent season out of Kirk. Cap saying what are we going to do with Charlie Kirk? I mean, in my mind, he'd be one of the ones I'd assume we try and we try and move on, along with DJ. Along with probably McGrandles, who between them have obviously played minutes in pre-season because the squad's not there yet, Nath. I mean, of the current squad that needs sort of slimming down a little bit before we go on and take those next steps to get a couple more. I mean, are they the ones you can see going out?
Yeah. You can't really argue against it. Again, it's not like I don't think any of them have done too much wrong. I know when Kirk came, I was really excited. When he first came in, it's just not really worked out for him. Saying that, he done okay in a couple of games, pre-season ones I've done, but nothing to sort of write home about. But I just can't see where him and DJ, I can't see where they're going to fit into a system unless we can, because I think Dean does still want to be adaptable and flip between maybe if you 3-5-2 or whatever, and if you need to go a 4-3-3, he can maybe, especially when you've got Tyrese and Corey, but I would imagine those three you mentioned there probably wouldn't surprise me if they were sort of they did move on and have a new challenge. So yeah, but again, I just wouldn't. If you said to me like Kirk's definitely going to stay, I'm like, okay, but he's not going to get many games, so surely he'd want to play games. You'd think, wouldn't you? Really, DJ just, as Tom said, he came with a bit of promise, and I don't really know DJ's best position. Like, is he a winger? Because he doesn't take anyone on. He can't whip a ball in. He can't do set pieces. He's not a 10. He's not a striker. He's not a wing back. So I'm looking at it going, obviously he's a good player somewhere, but I just don't think it's for us. And he probably needs a fresh start. So I think, yeah, those three, I can't really argue, mate, if they left for a new challenge, but that's nothing against them as obviously people or as players.
Yeah, right. Dan said some of the younger players will be crucial as well. I've seen a few names obviously mentioned, some that we've mentioned ourselves, the likes of a Simway. Obviously, Karoy Anderson's not had a bad pre-season. I think he scored at Millwall, didn't he? The one game at Millwall I haven't been at in the last 10, 15 years or so, and we actually had a 2-0 lead. I was really worrying there that I was going to miss something mildly special, but luckily we threw it away in traditional Millwall standards. The Mankind Initiative says DJ reminds me of Danny Green. I think Danny Green's final ball was probably slightly better, and he certainly had a better long shot. Mark saying that DJ needs to go. I mean, this will be a good question. Obviously, we'll sort of run through what we think the team might be later on, but Dan Bro saying Asimwe or Egbo. I mean, if you're going off the last two pre-seasons, I think Asimwe started ahead of Egbo in both of them. So looks like he's got some promise. I mean, I hadn't seen a great deal of the youth teams over the last couple of years, but when Asimwe came on at Cheltenham on the last day of the season and he was playing on the right-hand side, which is where I was sat in the press box, sometimes a player catches an eye, and for a youngster coming on for his debut, like, not only did he look confident on the ball, but when he was off the ball, he was really getting into space. He really wanted it. I mean, he showed some real nous and some real sort of get up and go attitude when he was on the pitch. So I'd like to see a bit more of him if we need, not overselling, but if we need to, that'd be great, Tom.
Yeah, and I'd say the same about Aaron Henry. I'd say the same about Tyrese Campbell. Obviously, they got a few more minutes towards the back end of last season, but they had that same quality that you just talk about there, wanting to get on the ball and take a risk. And ultimately, we were playing for nothing, weren't we, at that stage in the season? So obviously, you can afford to be a little bit braver. But we've done this year after year. We've brought youth players through, and they've had their opportunity if they can show they deserve it. So I think we've already spoken a little bit about what this new formation is going to look like, and I think the wing back bit in particular. And I know we were just speaking about it before we went live about who plays there, particularly if we're at home and we're attacking the team as opposed to if we're away at a perceived bigger club, and how we manage those positions. There's going to need to be some flexibility, and there's going to need to be players that play certain roles in certain games. And again, like you, I wouldn't claim to know a huge amount about him from the youth team, but if he proves himself and continues to put in performances like he did last game of last season, and the few opportunities he's had in pre-season, then why not? Why not? It's not like we saw a lot of Egbo last year, sadly down to his injury, not through his own fault. And so again, it's that competition for places. It's proving yourself, and he's got as good a chance as anybody. If he takes his chance and he shows that he can do it, then Dean has got the confidence to play him, which, as I said a little bit earlier, I think that breeds confidence in a squad, because if you're playing well, you're going to get picked. And again, if you're a player in that squad, that's obviously encouraging.
I'm not going to lie. The comment section on YouTube, I'm absolutely buzzing, because as I said earlier, it's just all football. Like I can't remember the last time we had a show like this. Albert Rossi has said on Twitter as well that he hopes that Simway and Anderson get a chance to start on Saturday. I mean, the other half of talking about the squad and where we think we might need some backup is there any area we think we might be weak in? Now we can't gloss over the fact that we've just come off the back of a pre-season friendly at home to Aberdeen, where in the first half defensively we were woeful. Obviously it was a back three with the wing backs, and I remember saying to someone at the Dartford game, when it was clear that we're going into the back three, that it's an interesting role, because of the team that was on the pitch at Dartford, our two best creators, based on what we've seen from them over the last years or whatever, Corey Blackett-Taylor and Tyrese Campbell, who I like. I like them both. I think they've both got attributes that improve the side. But immediately I thought, but then they're two wide players, and you're asking both of them to play the 3-5-2, which means they've got to do their defensive duty. Although, of course, we've seen Tyrese play up top a couple of times in pre-season as well, where he's done well. But you're asking them to do a defensive duty, which either they negate and we look open, and we were extremely open against Aberdeen in the first half, or they try and do it and it takes a bit of the attacking edge off them. What do you reckon, Dave? Because, Corey looked really dangerous going forward Saturday, but left wing back he ain't, unless we train him up a bit better how to positionally. Dean did say he felt the position of the centre-backs needs to be better to play that as well. So it might not only be Corey, but it certainly highlighted a bit of a worry for me in that first half.
Yeah, no, exactly, mate. I think obviously when you play with a three at the back, naturally the other team are going to try and get in behind your wing backs and go down the channels and down the sides of you to split them apart. And I didn't think we engaged very well first half. I don't think any of the back three played really well. I thought we looked quite hesitant in terms of our play. But more on the Corey point, I understand completely what you're saying. I think if we're going to be, if Corey, like we said, Corey's still learning. But if we play Corey left wing back in, I don't know, like a Derby away, it could be a tricky game, because naturally he is a left winger. He's not used to it. He's not used to tracking and the defensive positioning. Like we said all these years ago with Albie. First, it was Albie's, his positioning isn't there and stuff like that. Hopefully it will come. But for me, I'm still looking at hopefully two more strikers, another left wing back, and potentially another centre half, depending on if Dean thinks Deji or Zach are ready for first team football right now to play a bit part, because you're going to need all six centre backs in the season for sure. So I think, but I'm not worrying yet, mate. We've still got loads of time, and as you say, a lot of teams do business in August. We've got all the Premiership loans, which they never get sorted until mid to late August once their squads come out, or their squads get registered. So I just think I'm just going to be patient. I know we're not the finished article yet. We've got loads of time. I know everyone wants it now. I wanted it all done on the 1st of July, but it's never going to happen that way, especially if you want to get loans in from bigger clubs. So, and then hopefully we're going to be the pick of the bunch of all those clubs in League One who want those players. So It's going to be an interesting season with this 5-3-2, but there were that first half first 60 minutes against Millwall, really, it surprised me. It did surprise me how well we did play. I know it was friendly, but you can only beat what's in front of you, mate. But then we had some work to do, obviously, last Saturday, the first sort of 45 minutes. So but that's what they're for. We're trying new things, and it starts now, really.
Excellent stuff. Right, hi to our very own Ben and his new wife, Kate, who are listening out in Turkey on their honeymoon. Congratulations to you two, and to Lewis and Daisy from the pod who got married over the summer. They kept themselves busy at least. Right, we're going to have a word from our brand new sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to hear our interview with the new Charlton forward, Alfie May. Thinking about a new kitchen or bathroom? Find professional, independent local installers with free home surveys, itemised quotes and protected payments, trading standards approved contracts, and workmanship warranties. The British Institute of Kitchen, Bedroom, Bathroom Installations accredits installers to ensure they are police checked, fully insured, and experienced. Take the risk out of home improvement. Visit bikbbi.org.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the river. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live. A massive thank you to our sponsors who have joined us for the upcoming season, keeping us going for the next 12 months. We're really, really grateful to both of those organisations who are joining us. Right, a couple of messages before we go into our Alfie May interview. You may have seen on our Twitter page recently that Joe from the pod has started a prediction league. You can predict the top 6 and the bottom 6 of League One. We'll put the link up on Twitter again in the next few moments, and Joe will hopefully put it in our YouTube chat as well. If you want to get involved, I think like nearly 100 of our listeners have already got involved. There'll be no prizes other than like the kudos of being right and proving that you know more about football than Nathan, which hopefully shouldn't be too hard. But it's a chance to do that. I've also just been asked to point out as well that the London Air Ambulance are doing a bucket collection at the ground on Saturday. It's a Charlton fan I know called Simon Trill is going to be there amongst them, handing out or with buckets, hoping for some donations. So obviously they're sort of funded by donations, so make sure you chuck a couple of quid into the bucket if you see one of the chaps. Right, let's hear from our brand new spanking striker, Alfie May. It's the first time in a few years I've been excited by a striker that we've signed, because you know he gets goals. So I caught up with Alfie yesterday. They were doing the EFL launch day, ironically at Leyton Orient Stadium. So he was at the home of our opponents on Saturday. I had a quick chat with him yesterday. Say that the new Charlton striker Alfie May is joining us on Charlton Live now. Alfie, thanks a lot for your time. You've been with us about a month now. How have you settled in?
Yeah, settled in really well. The lads made it really easy to settle into the group. Going away as well on a pre-season tour makes it a little bit easier as well, because you're with each other every day. So yeah, no, it's been easy. It's been nice to settle into the group.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've been with us for the majority of pre-season, if not all. So I mean, how important was that you came in early and got to know the boys nice and quickly?
Yeah, it was really important. I said to my agent and also said to Cheltenham, I sort of knew about the pre-season tour, so it's really important to sort of get it done before then, because like I say, you can't beat it going away with the group and settling in. And it was important to get obviously game time and sort of fit in the way that the gaffer wants to play.
Yeah, I mean, what have you learnt about the style of play that Dean's installing? Because I guess for the majority of the squad, even the ones who were here last season, it's a switch in formation from one that we didn't play a great deal last season to one we are playing this year. So how has Dean got his message across with all the boys so far?
Yeah, no, it's really, really good. We're working hard on the training pitch. I think that's where the hard work starts, and you sort of build yourself into the games. And pre-season's hard to sort of tactically get things right, because pre-season's there for minutes. So when we get a chance to do formation on a training pitch, you sort of get a little bit more out of it. So yeah, but for me to come in this formation, I've played this 3-5-2 system for a long time now. So sort of not much changes for myself, just kit.
Mm. Obviously, you've got a couple of goals already in pre-season as well. Because I was going to say, I guess scoring in pre-season probably doesn't matter, but not scoring in pre-season would matter, especially like a striker building confidence. Like getting one in your first game against Orient in Spain, that must have set you up nicely for the season ahead.
Yeah, any game you play, you want to score goals. I'll try and celebrate all goals as well. It don't matter what game I'm playing in. I think that sort of buzz that you get when you score is such a good feeling. So I actually would celebrate every goal, but I think Dobbo said I can't be celebrating in pre-season.
Well, sure you should. So have you got a celebration that you've used throughout your career? I know we've probably seen it a couple of times without noting it, obviously against us. But is there one we're going to be treated to somersaults or anything like that coming this season?
Maybe a few headstands and some cartwheels. I don't know. I'll make it up as I go along. Whatever excitement I get from the goal, I'll just celebrate as it comes to me.
Yeah, and obviously it's a feeling you've got used to over the last few years. I was going to ask you obviously about your career as a whole, because Cheltenham over the last 3 years is where it's really kicked off, and I always find it fascinating when you see those strikers who've gone through their career and that they're getting goals here and there, but suddenly something clicks, and was it over 60 goals in the last 3 seasons with Cheltenham? What do you think it was that was almost that eureka moment for you that set you off on this path that you've been on the last few years?
Started sort of believing in myself, and believing that I was a good player, and I knew that as a striker you have to score goals. It's why you're in the team. So yeah, mentally sort of changed the way that I was approaching games. I've done a lot of hard work in the gym, changed sort of my diet, and sort of becoming an athlete, becoming an actual professional footballer. After football, I think there was a big saying last year. It's like, what you're doing in the shadows, and that's you're at the football club 2-3 hours. What you doing sort of after football? You going home and just sleeping on. But I took it all in and sort of changed everything that I was doing. And yeah, just mentality was the big one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the type of career you've had, where you I think you left the game for a while and you're off working in some sort of woodwork or something, weren't you? So has that given you a bit more motivation now to sort of hit this level that you have?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love the job. I love coming in every day, training with a smile on my face, because I'm like I say, I'm living a dream that I didn't think I would ever get. So I never take advantage of it. I try and learn every day, and that's the one thing here with speaking to the staff, the gaffer, and that there's still things that I can improve on, and I can't wait to, like I say, to keep learning.
Yeah, obviously one of the best things about going out to Spain is not just the team bonding, but obviously you got bonding with all the fans that went out there. We sent some of our best reprobates out there, actually, especially some of the guys from the pod as well. So how did you find sort of meeting them? I know you come from the area as well, so I guess you must have a bit of an understanding of what it means to play for Charlton and what Charlton fans expect. Yeah,
definitely. It was unbelievable to see when we was training and you see all the fans sitting there watching. Couldn't believe that they've travelled out there to support us, and that's what the club is. The size of the club, it's massive, and that was one big thing, sort of why I wanted to sign for Charlton, because of the ambitions and the size of the club. Everybody knows that they shouldn't be in this league, but it's down to us as a group, players, staff, supporters, just all sticking together and going in the same direction of where we want to achieve.
Yeah, and obviously, as I say, because you're a local boy, you must know a fair bit about the club before you came here. Is that one of the big draws as well, being back with family and in your home area?
Yeah, it was a massive thing for me. Living, like I say, I live in Dartford, so it's 20 minutes from the training ground. One of the first conversations I had with the gaffer, he said, I don't need to tell you about the club, the history of the club, because you probably know a lot more than many people from living locally. So yeah, I knew everything that the size of the club. I keep talking about it because it's massive. And yeah, being back home with family and having them there to support me will be massive.
Yeah, and obviously, I guess you know what the ambitions of a fan base would be for a Charlton at this level. I mean, how confident are you in the squad that's coming around you, that we're in a good position to make a real go of it this year?
Yeah, very very confident. I think you see it in pre-season, the way that we're sort of moving the ball and that attacking mind, the way that we want to press everything. So yeah, for us, it's just sticking together and take game by game. You can't predict what you're gonna happen weekend, Tuesday night, Saturday. You just got to take game by game and just keep ticking them off.
And obviously, game by game starts with Leyton Orient at home on Saturday. It's ironic that the press day is at Orient's ground today. I hope you're looking around in the change room, see if they've left a tactics board up or anything like that. But I mean, obviously, you know what it's like to come into League One as a player that's just been promoted from League Two. How will Orient feel going into this one? Because they will be Charlton at the Valley as a bit of a scalp. So I guess you guys need to be aware of that as well going into Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive game. They're like I say, they're new to the league. We know they're gonna come out the traps and they want to get off to a flyer, but so do we. We obviously want the 3 points as well. So yeah, it'd be a good game, and like it's a derby as well. So the noise will be there, the crowd will be there. So it'd be a good one.
Excellent. And just finally, so you were on BBC Radio London with one of my colleagues a few weeks ago, and I was on immediately after you to talk about you, and they asked me a follow-up question to what you spoke about with the Ashes. So you and I were both confidently predicting that we were going to win the Ashes, and obviously it didn't quite work out that way because of a bit of rain. But the fairy tale ending that we've seen from Stuart Broad this week, obviously being a big cricket fan yourself, do you look at moments like that, history-making moments, and think I'd love to try and replicate something that important in a Charlton shirt this coming season?
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the things that Cheltenham used to talk about the last couple of years, about sort of as a group of players creating history, beating records, goal scoring records, etc. But as a team, sort of getting that promotion into League One, highest league position in League One. So yeah, that's you want to, as a player, like I say, as a squad at Charlton, we want to just keep adding to the history that's already here. We want to be, like I say, that successful team to go up to get promotion. That's what we're all in it, in doing it the same thing. We want to achieve the same things.
Excellent, and we can play in the rain as well, so we don't have to worry about being taken out because of that.
Yeah.
Brilliant, Alfie. Thanks so much for your time, and all the best for the season.
Top man, thank you.
There we go. That's the new Addicks forward, Alfie May, speaking to me ahead of the campaign. Spoke very well, obviously, from the local area, Tom. I mean, I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I'm sure that he can get goals at this level because he's done it over the last 2 years. And in pre-season, got a couple of goals, missed a couple of penalties, which we'll brush over. But what we should say is his link-up play was good as well, which is something that obviously Dean would have known that coming in, and anyone who's seen him playing for Cheltenham last season would have seen that. But that's a bonus because we haven't always had that with our strikers over the years, link up and goals. Probably not since Lyle, if we're looking at both. Yeah,
you're probably right. And he comes with the reputation, obviously. As you say, he's done it before as well. And he's one of those that pretty much, I think even before the season ended, when we went up to Cheltenham at the end of last season, people were saying, let's go and get him. And he's been that name, you know, both a mix of people who are in the know and just regular fans, everyone was saying, if we can get Alfie May. Now, as you say, we're trying not to put too much pressure on him, but when people want a player that much, there's got to be a reason behind it. As you say, he's had moments in pre-season. He's had some good ones and some bad ones, as you mentioned there. But I think on the whole, we all know what he's capable of. As you asked him there, it's all about how he fits into this system and how this system fits for most of the players. But yeah, there's a feeling that there's kind of guaranteed goals there. In the same way, again, as there was with Lyle Taylor, there was kind of no doubt that he would score. Not like last year where you put a Miles in there and okay, he went on and did it, but I don't think any of us were expecting him to go and have the season he did. Even Jez when he came in as a youngster. So yeah, buying a proven player, we know what he's capable of. And as you say, adds more than just goals. I saw a couple of comments there about him sort of shifting out wide and not always playing straight down the middle. So I know there's lots of chat about, do we play a second guy up front? If so, what sort of style do we play, particularly whilst Miles is injured? So we're going to get a bit of everything with him. And I think if he can get 15 goals himself and weigh in with a good few assists as well, then it's going to be the sort of player that you probably need if you are pushing those top 6 places. So yeah, I'm very excited to see him play for us.
Yeah, Mark saying that Alfie will be top goal scorer this season. And when you think that, I mean, if Miles Leaburn can replicate what he did last season, and we've got Alfie May getting his hopefully 20 goals or so, that's not a bad return at all. Right, it's time to look ahead to Leyton Orient on Saturday, and I can assure you there is no man who knows more about Leyton Orient than our guest who's joining us on screen now. Welcome to the absolutely legendary BBC Radio London O's commentator and reporter, Dave Victor. How you doing, Dave?
I'm very good. Embarrassed by that introduction. How are you all?
Yeah, very good indeed, Dave. I knew it was going to be you who I wanted on the show when we're talking Orient, because as I said, I mean, you've been there and done that. You've probably sat in that room where I interviewed Alfie in a million times. It's a good time to be a Leyton Orient fan after what has been a few difficult years. I mean, I remember being at Hayes Lane watching Bromley beat your lot 6-1. So it's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It's been an incredible journey. A 6-year plan was set by Kent Teague and Nigel Travis, the chairman and chief investor, when they took over and rescued the club. It was a broken club and in National League. And to be back within those 6 years and to have 3,000 travelling to the Valley, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, your last few seasons shows us how it can work when a new ownership is in place and everything clicks. I mean, obviously, there has been difficult times. Obviously, the club has had to bounce back from going into non-league, and also even when you came out of it, the tragic death of Justin Edinburgh. But now that you are back here, does this feel like you're at your rightful place? I mean, what are the expectations for this season as well? Because you never really know with a side that's just come up from League Two.
Well, Richie Wellens has transformed expectations. I've asked him that very question as to what he thinks the season holds. He's a very honest man, and he said he didn't know. What he did say was it's going to be a very different division than it was last year, because you had the likes of Plymouth Argyle and Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday who amassed so many points. And at the wrong end of the table, you had the likes of Accrington Stanley, Morecambe, and of course Forest Green Rovers, who went up as champions, of course, that really weren't would seem from a distance competing in terms of staying in the division. I think it's going to be much closer and tighter and far more competitive as a result.
Excellent stuff. Tell us about Darren Pratley, because obviously I'm going to ask you about the key members of your squad, but obviously Pratt's is one that we've had and we were really fond of. Is he still an absolute machine?
Well, he's 38 now, and he doesn't look it, and he's remarkably fit. I think it's very important that Idris El-Mazouni has signed again on loan from Ipswich Town, because he's Darren's legs, I think it's fair to say. He wins a lot of tackles. Darren Pratley is the skipper, and he leads by example, and there were very important games last season. I remember Stockport County away, and Stockport were the big spenders in League Two, and Leyton Orient were trailing by a goal to nil, and it was Darren Pratley who literally grabbed everybody and scored the equaliser, and it felt to me that was such a statement of intent, a real turning point, and everyone, even someone like myself who've been watching the O's for so many years, started to believe.
Yeah, I mean, we had special moments with Darren Pratley as well. Obviously, he scored in a playoff semi-final, a very vital goal for us. Yeah, big fan of his. So, I mean, finally, then I asked it to Alfie May actually. it would feel unfair to say that we're a proper scalp to Leyton Orient, because I've seen us lose to Leyton Orient enough times throughout the season. But coming up from League Two, as Alfie did with Cheltenham a couple of seasons ago, obviously they'll look at some of the bigger clubs and perhaps we'll have a bit of a target on our back. I mean, will that play an element on it on Saturday?
Orient have got an incredibly difficult start to life in League One. We've got Plymouth Argyle in the Cup away on Tuesday night. We've got Portsmouth at home. We then travel to Wycombe Wanderers, and then we've got Blackpool. It couldn't be much tougher, but that's what you want when you move into the higher tier. Finally, Louis, can I mention Chris Bart-Williams, who, of course, played for both Leyton Orient and Charlton, and I do hope that on Saturday we have an opportunity to pay our respects.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the club have got planned, but yeah, hopefully we'll. I remember very fondly a free kick that Bart scored for us against Derby, and yeah, very sad to see him pass away recently. Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to working with you on Saturday, and may the best team win.
Absolutely. See you soon.
Cheers. Excellent. Always an absolute pleasure to speak to Dave Victor. He is an absolute legend on BBC Radio London. He covers the O's home and away, and he is the absolute top dog when it comes to Leyton Orient. Right, from a Charlton point of view, we should look ahead to the game. Let's hear from the Addicks boss, Dean Holden. He sat down with Terry for his pre-match press day to look ahead to the campaign and, of course, Saturday's opener with Leyton Orient.
New season. You said that you've been happy the way our pre-season's gone up to this point with the performances, and one defeat against Aberdeen, but still the performance was there. So are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Yeah, I can feel it with the staff and the players. I think it's an exciting time for all of us. Pre-season's gone very well for many different reasons. The challenges we've faced, certain styles we've come up against, formations, all this type of stuff. So I feel we're well prepared. We're still nowhere near where we want to get to as a team. Of course, there's been a lot of new players coming in. I think if you think back to January, there's a lot of players left at that point and came in, and the same this summer. So we're ready for the game. We can't wait for it.
You came to us, and you touched on it a little bit there, you came to us pretty much halfway through last season, and with some pressure at the time to get us out of where we were, in a little bit of trouble. But with the side you mostly inherited then. This season, with the side that's mostly yours, you've got to say, with the style of play that you dictate, is that more pressure? Does that bring you more pressure than last season?
Doesn't concern me, Terry, to be honest. You put pressure on yourself, don't you? You want to perform in your own individual role, and certainly within the group. Again, it's not about me, it's about the group, and internally we've set our targets. We know exactly where we want to get to this season. Again, don't feel the need to go shouting about it publicly and making big bold statements. We work every day. You're down there. You see how we work every day. So that's the thing we've got to commit to. That's the consistency that we're after. The results will take care of themselves as long as you get your training week right and your mentality and your fitness and all the rest of it. So pressure doesn't concern me, never has. To be honest with you, it's an exciting. I'd rather be at a club that's got pressure on it, and I know the players feel the same way. You know, there's big aspirations for this club to get back to where it's been before, and I'm in the seat at the moment, and it's a great place to be, I have to say.
We heard the good news this week that Miles is closing in on a return. Chuck's a little bit later, you've said. How is the rest of the squad ahead of Saturday? We know that Deji's had a knock, and Terry Taylor and Tayo Eden maybe not quite up to speed with the rest of the squad, but generally, how is the squad?
Yeah, fine. Again, you know, great credit to all the staff. We've put not just the pre-season plan in place, but the off-season plan was probably more important than that, to make sure that the players came back pre-season in the right fitness, ready to push on and work. And I've been really pleased with the work that they've done. I have to say, the players, they've worked really hard this pre-season, as you'd expect. But to come through it unscathed with no soft tissue injuries, I think is great credit to everybody, because we've pushed the players and pushed them to some dark places at times in pre-season. But they've overcome it, they've come through it, and they'll be all the stronger for that. So the squad's good. The squad's obviously there's decisions to be made in the next 48 hours going into the game, but as it stands right now, everything's okay.
And with the news on Miles, and to a lesser extent Chuck's perhaps, with 28 days or so left of the transfer window, does that news affect what you're now going to do for the rest of the transfer window?
I mean, we've known about Miles, haven't we, since the first game of pre-season at Welling, so no, we know where we need to strengthen. Them decisions have already been made, and obviously there'll be players probably to leave the club before the window closes. You see that in every club, in every transfer window, naturally, and we want to keep quite a trim squad. We don't need too many that are not going to be getting game time. I think it's important from a psychological side as a player. You always feel close to the team, and we spoke a lot about the leaders that we want off the pitch as well, who are going to push these youngsters that are coming through, who were so exciting. And you need the right ones around that, if they're not quite involved every game, that they're going to be pushing the youngsters and pushing themselves and the teammates to create competition for places, but just to keep them standards high. You know, them Monday morning sessions when you might get the lads that have not played on a Saturday and stuff, there could be the most important session of the week sometimes, to make sure everybody's ready for the next game. So yeah, there'll naturally be a little bit more movement in and out, I would expect, before the window, but again, the full focus at the moment, and certainly this week, has been on this game.
And speaking of which, Leyton Orient at the Valley on Saturday for the first league game. I'm sure you won't read too much into the pre-season friendly out in Spain, but they are a newly promoted side. They won the league last season. They've got new signings. They're all promoted sides, but especially the champions will be keen to make an impact in League One, so you'll be expecting a test. Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Richie, I've known, grew up playing against each other, me and Richie, so I've known each other a long time. Had a fantastic season last year. They're a team that's used to winning, and yeah, the pre-season game, we played 2 hours in. I don't think the temperatures at the Valley will be quite what they were out in Spain, I have to say. So I think it's a good game for us as a start, because it's a home game. I always think that when the away team bring a decent following, I really think that adds to the spice and the atmosphere at the Valley. So obviously local neighbours, they'll bring a decent support as well. But there's the people I'm speaking to on a daily basis, our supporters, are optimistic about what they're seeing at the moment. So yeah, can't wait for a fantastic atmosphere. Certainly come kick-off. It's then about us making sure that we keep atmosphere within the stadium, give the fans something to cheer about, and we spoke about that connection a lot, and it's really important starting on Saturday. But yeah, it's a tough game for us. I think it's obviously a bit of an unknown quantity, because if you think about the teams that have come up and obviously teams coming down, as you've just said, their teams have still got a lot of work to do in terms of recruitment. So we'll be well prepared for them. We've certainly done our own work, and looking forward to it.
There we go. That's Dean Holden looking ahead to the opener against Leyton Orient on Saturday. I mean, there's loads of stuff to still talk about in terms of this season. We haven't even got into whether the League One's a bit weaker this year, which it probably is, but we can certainly pick the bones out of that maybe on Sunday. But a recurring theme in the chat so far today has been, what goalkeeper are we going to play? So obviously, who's going to play up alongside Alfie May is a question as well. But I mean, if we dive straight into goalkeeper, Nath. I tend to assume that whoever plays in the final pre-season friendly is the one that is probably currently first choice. So actually, Maynard Brewer probably will start based off that. But Eisted's obviously got that pedigree of the strong second half of last season he had. Which way do you see that going?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, when Harry Eisted came in, I thought he was going to be number one. Personally, I just think he was at Barnsley. He had a good season, but he's not had a lot of experience. But then I know Ashley probably could have done better with a few goals to the tail end of last year, but he's not really done that much wrong, really. So thinking about it now, I'd probably say Ashley probably would start. I don't know, if you can go by the last friendly, you could potentially. But yeah, I think Ashley will. I think Ashley will start. But I know we haven't got a lot of time left, but I think it's important. I think we've touched on it already, that the last few years you've had players that know they're going to start. They know they're going to start because that's the best we have. But I think now, if you're having two good players, I think for me, right wing back, I don't see why Nathan Asinwe shouldn't start. And Michael Egbo's probably looking at going, well, I've got to get back in now. And that's what you want. You want people to know that they can keep the shirt, but also they can lose it as well. So I just think healthy competition is always good. So I think it's Ashley's shirt to lose in goal.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lack of competition up top. It's the opposite of that. So who plays alongside Alfie May? So I mean, on my notes, is it going to be Kirk or Tyrese Campbell? I know who I'd pick. I mean, is there anyone else you'd throw into the mix, Tom? Have you got preference out of those two? I'm just trying to look in the chat. I mean, someone said maybe even stick Scott Fraser up there, but which way do you see that one going?
Yeah, mine would have been the same as you. I think one of those two. I think I'll probably give it to Tyrese. I know I said Kirk appears to have had a good pre-season, but as we've all said, it's unlikely, or maybe we're looking for a way out. Maybe not. Maybe Dean's seen him and thinks, you know what, he deserves a chance. And if so, I'd be the first to get right behind that. But I think in terms of what Tyrese was doing towards the back end of last season, I mean, defenders couldn't get near him in a few of those games. I think he deserves an opportunity. We know it's not going to be forever, so I don't think it's going to be a big knock to his confidence if he struggles a little bit. But based on what we saw last season, I think he'd be absolutely fine up there. So I'd probably go with Tyrese.
Yeah, and that's what Mark's saying as well. Tupac up top with Alfie May. Right, we've run out of time on our first show back, the first big match preview of the campaign. Like I said, there's still so much more we can sort of get our teeth into. So don't forget to join us on Sunday at 10 a.m. live here on YouTube, or you can listen back via the podcast as well. Or you can watch it back on YouTube as well. Loads of ways you can get involved. But thanks to everyone who's joined us live this evening or via the podcast after. All your comments have been really useful. I've really enjoyed tonight's show. As I said, we spoke about ownership for about 5-10 minutes, and then we've actually concentrated fully on football, and hopefully that will be the case for the next little while until obviously everything goes wrong like it normally does. But let's just enjoy it while we can. Here's hoping for a good season. Nathan, Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you guys again. See you on Sunday.
Cheers, lads. To be back.
Might see you Saturday and Sunday, Louis. You might be lucky.
Oh, wow. What an absolute treat that would be. Well, I'll be in the Valley Cafe first thing, mate. I'll see you there. Massive thank you, to everyone who's joined in. Don't forget to join us again on Sunday. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by the British Institute of Kitchen, Bedroom and Bathroom Installation. We look forward to seeing you again on Sunday morning.